As Emily mentioned, and this is the way that I'm going to start today, just wanted to give a quick share. This is Vincenzo Laneri. He was born on Monday after an all-nighter in the hospital. We welcomed him into the world a little bit early, but we're very excited that he's here. He was born as a nearly 10-pound baby with a full head of hair, so he was obviously growing really well in there. Excited to have him and add him to the crew. So as we look at this, just going back to this title here, engage with anyone, anywhere, anytime, making your reputation shine online. We're going to cover quite a bit today concerning contemporary communication, and I want to start with a high-level concept and something that I know that we can all relate to. We value convenience. As consumers today, convenience is of the utmost importance to us. And in order to illustrate this, I want to take a little blast from the past here. See if any of you recognize any of these relics on the screen here. This was part of our daily carry for many, many years. 15 years ago, I used to load my cargo shorts up with all of my trinkets, run across town, and if I forgot any one of these individual items, it was incredibly inconvenient, as these were my daily carries, and every single one of these items was required to facilitate my daily life. And I had no idea that consolidation and personalization was coming in a form that we couldn't have ever anticipated. All of these devices and all of these things that were required on the daily are now integrated into one convenient, personalized device. In 2007, the iPhone entered the market. There are actually now 6 billion smartphones in circulation, and 50% of the world's population are mobile internet users. It's amazing to think that all of those things from that previous slide are now consolidated into one simple device. And this device here has changed communication in a way that we could have never anticipated. Since its introduction, it has changed the way that we communicate. It's reduced the number of phone calls. It's literally introduced so many new forms of communication, and it continues to evolve the way that we communicate. Convenience is the commodity that matters most to our generation. This statement is incredibly true surrounding one of the most successful companies in the world, and this will come as no surprise, Amazon. How many of you have an Amazon Prime account here? Okay. Do you remember a time when you used to put your keys in your car, fight traffic across town, walk aimlessly up and down grocery store aisles or shopping malls to find what you're looking for, only to find that they don't have it in stock, or you've wasted an incredible amount of time? You walk up to the front after you've selected your items carrying this strange paper currency called cash, and you hand that to an agent or an attendant there at the front when they break change and make you carry dirty coins on your way for you to fight traffic across town. Well, now with a click of a button, the palm of your hand, in the sweatpants, in the comfort of your own home, you can have a bag of goldfish, a vacuum, a Yoda costume for your dog, shipped to your house within 24 to 48 hours. Technology has absolutely changed the way that we do things, and it changes our expectations. As I put some of these logos up in this next slide, I want you to think about how integral these technologies combined with your smartphone have become a part of our daily lives. Amazon has changed the way that we shop. Netflix has changed the way that we consume TV and watch movies. Spotify is an amazing more is more model where the endless volumes of music are available to us with a click of a button. Depending on setting and mood, we have it all of it at our fingertips. Uber has completely disrupted the yellow cab. No longer do we finish a ride across New York City where there's a magical button at the front of that cab that is pressed by the driver and our fare doubles or triples for no reason. Instead, from the palm of our hand, we have our personal information, our payment information, anything that's relevant to a convenient and a streamlined ride is right there, and we can be picked up on a corner anywhere in the world through this technology. DoorDash allows us to order in, stay in our sweatpants, palm of hand, mobile orders, and we can enjoy cuisine in a way that we never thought possible. Tinder, this may be relevant to some of us or not, but it has certainly expedited the process of finding our soulmates, and it's made it much more convenient and streamlined in that sense. So as we think about technology, the advent of the smartphone, and the expectations that we now have concerning communications, how does this translate into dentistry? What do patients expect in 2021? How will they find our practices? How will they engage? How do they want to communicate? How would they like to pay their bills, schedule their appointments? All of these things are encompassed in what we call the patient experience. And it's incredibly important that we modernize the way that we communicate and allow our patients to communicate with our practices. Because just as important as the services that we offer, the experience that we offer in our practices is of the utmost importance. None of these patients understand the margins on our crowns or know how we place implants, but instead they remember the way that they felt in the practice, how easy it was to communicate, to find us, to schedule, to pay, to receive ongoing communications, and to continually communicate in a convenient, personalized way. The patient experience is incredibly important. And as I walk through some of this presentation today, we're going to talk about how to grow through the patient experience, how to get found online, how to make it easy to stand out over local competition, how you can allow patients to easily connect with you and convert them into lifelong patients that don't just come in and receive a cleaning because you take their insurance and then walk out the back door, but instead they enjoy the communication, the experience that they had in your practice, and they will continually come, they'll accept the treatment that you suggest and become a patient for life. That's tying into creating practice champions, not merely serving patients that walk in the front door and walk out the back, but instead individuals that are willing to share feedback with you, that are willing to bring in other like-minded patients that will rave about you and share their experience in ways that are meaningful and that will help draw new patients and continue to grow the practice that you dream of. So the patient experience starts long before patients are in the chair. With the advent of the smartphone, the internet, and the way that we are now finding practices, it all starts with an online search. Who would have ever thought that Google is literally telling patients how good or not your practices are based on feedback from existing patients through online reviews? Patients are absolutely influenced by online reviews, and a lot of times now, instead of receiving a referral from a friend or a family member, it actually starts with an online search. Whether they moved from a new area or they're looking to see what other options are out there, patients do search and they read those reviews. They're influenced by those online reviews. And more so than ever, it's important for practices to stand out online, because a simple search like dentist near me or affordable dentist or cosmetic dentist or emergency dentist in your local area could bring you a patient that may end up sticking in your practice and being there for a very long time, so long as you're looking credible online, as patients are influenced by these reviews. 90% of business patrons, this was a survey by Zendesk, are influenced by positive reviews. And 31% of business patrons are actually willing to spend more in a business or a practice that looks great online or that looks credible online. This has become a social currency in a way that we could have never expected. But these online searches are taking place daily, and practices have the opportunity to capitalize in a way that is a very low cost but a high return on investment by simply making sure that they're receiving fresh and recent reviews to their Google My Business page, Facebook business page, other relevant sites as well. We'll talk more about this, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the analysis for your practice. Do you have a great review score? Are you receiving fresh and recent reviews? Do you know how many reviews you are? How recent was your most recent review? Do you look credible online? And if not, that's okay, but we can absolutely talk about some tools that will help to change and influence this. Because Google determines local search rankings. Many practices are unaware, but Google reviews are heavily weighted in local and broader search results. Ensuring that your practices have fresh and recent reviews and that you're responding to those reviews on the Google My Business page will actually help you show up front and center when patients are searching dentist near me, affordable dentist, cosmetic dentist, emergency dentist, any services that you offer. Ensuring that you have fresh and recent reviews to your Google My Business page will actually boost your local search results. So rather than spending tens of thousands of dollars on SEO, you can actually spend a few $100s and ensure that you're getting fresh and recent reviews, and you can gain new patients in a very low cost but a high return on investment way. As we look at how Google determines local rankings, we have relevance, distance, and prominence. We're not going to focus as much on those, but instead quickly dive into quantity and quality. So in terms of quantity, Google is constantly tracking the number of reviews you have, the star ratings, and then third and most importantly, how fresh or how recent those reviews are coming into your page. Google is a data company, and so it's no surprise that they want fresh and recent reviews to show lifeblood in the practice or business in order to promote that in a local search ranking. So once again, going back to some of those questions, how frequently are you receiving reviews? I know that many practices are constantly asking patients or even sending out some form of automation in order to gain reviews, but you'll find that a lot of times if you search their most recent review, it can be 6 months, 2 months, 6 weeks, you name it. There are long periods of time, and changing that and ensuring that there are more fresh and recent reviews will absolutely help to boost the practice local search rankings. Then secondly, quality. This comes at no surprise, but Google will promote businesses that have a higher star rating, and we'll share an interesting stat here shortly. But in terms of your practices, just another quick question. How do you appear online? If you flew into San Francisco or you landed here in Miami and you're looking for a sushi restaurant or a great restaurant, and you searched a restaurant or looked at your practice, how do you appear online? Would you select your practice over the other options that come up in that initial search? If you're looking for a sushi restaurant, it's very unlikely that you're going to land at a 3-star restaurant with 2 reviews, but rather the business or the restaurant that has 1,000 reviews or 500 reviews with fresh and recent reviews, we're much more likely to select a practice or a restaurant that looks that way. So I've got a couple examples here. I recently performed a search. I had my geotag on, and I was actually in Utah nearby. I searched orthodontist near me. The very initial search that comes up is what's referred to as the Google Map Pack. And I know it's probably a little small on the screen here, but one of the practices that popped up in the 5 available options actually only had 2 reviews and had a 2-star rating. I know that is not indicative of the orthodontia that this gentleman or practitioner provides, but that's how his practice looks online. 2-star reviews and only 2 reviews, and he was the last review was actually 2 years ago, and there was no response from the owner. As a patient, you can imagine that I quickly looked past that and gravitated toward a practice that had 4.9 stars and over 250 reviews. And digging even deeper, the last review was 2 days ago, and there was a response from the owner. This helped to ensure that practice was there in that map pack, but a patient searching in that area is absolutely going to gravitate toward that practice as opposed to that lower star rated practice. I know that many practices feel that they have a handle on their reviews, but it really is it's incredible how much a recent and fresh reviews can affect your practice. So in terms of the star rating here, a recent study by the Harvard Business School was actually just said that by raising your star rating one star can actually have immediate revenue impact. 5 to 9%, that's no joke for many of our practices. And just a simple thing, ensuring that you're gaining fresh and recent reviews and raising that star rating can have immediate effect on the revenue. 87% of business patrons or individuals said that they will pass on practices that have a low star rating. Once again, it's absolutely incredible the changes in communication that have taken place and the fact that online reviews are now heavily weighted in a local search result, but they're actually affecting patients' decision making in selecting practices. And so some of these things are definitely there to consider. I want to talk about getting reviews. There are many different ways in the last 10 years as online reviews have come into place, but some practices are forcing conversations with patients and asking them on the way out the door, saying that they'll receive an automated link, and then when the link comes, the patient looks at it and it comes from a 5-digit short code. It doesn't look incredibly well branded or personalized, and so the patient doesn't follow through. If I were to audit how many practices are actually sending online review requests, I would think that the number of practices that are sending review requests is actually pretty high. But the utilization or the patient engagement is likely pretty low because most practices actually have under 100 reviews on Google. So in terms of utilizing technology, I want to talk about a couple critical things when it comes to review generation. Number one, it's incredibly important to brand these review requests. So making sure, whether it's a photo of the practitioner, the hygienist that they saw, or a great aesthetic logo from your practice, there are many tools that can help to make this simple, but sending a branded, aesthetically pleasing message will absolutely increase the patient engagement on that. Number two is to require as few clicks as possible. We've seen time and time again in click data that the more steps that a patient has to go through in order to facilitate or to leave your practice an online review, there's actually a 12-step drop-off per click. So making sure that you have a system in place that requires few clicks, 1 click if possible, is of the utmost importance. And then the third is timing. So when we send patients out the door and they're rushing back to work or taking the kids across town to soccer practice, or we've all got a million things coming in, and if that link comes in shortly after the appointment, the data shows that it's actually not as effective as an evening send. So sending these review requests out 6:30 to 8 p.m. local time is a time when you catch people and when they've got their phone palm of hand, they're relaxing, perhaps just finishing a meal or even preparing a meal. But the data shows that patients are actually engaging much more in evening times when their day slows down, when they're likely to have a phone in the palm of their hand. And so in terms of ensuring that these reviews go to your Google My Business page, fresh and recent, it's an aesthetically pleasing, branded invitation, the timing when you send this, and then requiring as few clicks as possible. Now you can do this manually, or there are tools like SWELL that have an automated process that take care of all of this for you. So as we transition, and we've talked about the importance of online reviews, that's essentially the tip of the spear. That's how you will stand out, be selected over local competition, and give them that initial search when patients are looking for a practice. But how do you go from getting found online to creating loyal patients? As we talked about some of those technologies, they've spent millions and millions of dollars to make it very simple to engage with their businesses, to purchase from them, to communicate with them. And as such, we should do the same with our practices. Opening up additional ways for patients to reach us in 2021 is incredibly important. So if somebody performed a search online, how will they reach you? Are you forcing patients to call you and spend that 10 minutes trying to spell their last name, telling you what insurance they have if they're a patient of record? Or can they send you a simple text message or send an online appointment request? Or do you have a web chat in place? We're going to talk more in depth, but just a quick audit here is how conveniently can patients reach your practice? Do you have tools in place like an Amazon experience or an Uber or Netflix that it feels personalized, it's mobile friendly, it's very easy to communicate with you, and it feels modernized? Requiring patients to spend time on the phone is actually a way to lose patients. Patients are spending less and less time. The iPhone application, the phone app on the iPhone, is actually the 5th most utilized application on the phone. We're not leaving voicemails. We're not taking phone calls anymore. We're screening phone calls and sending text messages immediately after, as if we didn't even see the phone call coming through. But if you think that patients are going to search for your practice online, end up on your website, and call in and spend that 10 minutes or 15 minutes out of their day to see if you can get them in for an appointment, you're mistaken. Instead, patients want to reach you through contemporary avenues. They want to reach you where they are. Social media, text message, a web chat, an online appointment request. These are of the utmost importance for you to open up additional channels and fill the top of the funnel, engage with more patients than ever before by allowing them to reach you exactly where they are. Now, I know that for practices that can be difficult to manage all of these different channels, to have to toggle between text message, an online appointment request, web chat, social media all day long. But there are tools in place, as you can see here, that will actually consolidate all of that communication. So patients can reach you from so many additional channels, but you manage that all from one inbox. And it's incredibly convenient for the patient and the practice. Now, when a patient is trying to connect, going back to the patient experience, response times absolutely matter. When we look at text messages and the statistics on how long it takes for for us to read and open our text message, it's staggering, but it's very quick. Our text messages do not go unread, and they're being read very, very quickly. And so allowing a patient to reach you in a similar fashion through text message or a very simple instant connect way, this will enhance the patient experience and increase the likelihood that that individual is going to be satisfied with the communication with the practice. Now, when we talk about patients trying to connect and practices trying to manage all of these different ways, the response times have been very slow. If a patient is trying to reach practices through social or through email, it's been taking quite a long time. But providing a chat or a text message option is quick, convenient, and it enhances the patient experience. I want to talk about web chat very quickly. As web chat is rising in popularity in dentistry, still only 40% of dentists or dental practices have a web chat or a way to communicate from the website. That means that the 40% of those practices are likely gaining all of the patients that would like to perform an online search, quickly submit a question like, do you take Delta Dental, right from the website, or do you take same-day appointments? Here's a little illustration of a very simple patient searches, lands on websites, connects in a two-way text conversation. That all happened within 60 seconds. Instead of forcing a patient to call in and spend that agonizing time on the phone only to find that it's not a great fit, or you don't have openings, or you're booked out for 6 months and you've wasted their time and caused frustration, putting a tool like a web chat in place is incredibly important, and it certainly enhances the patient experience. I want to talk about online appointment requesting as well. I know that in dentistry it's been a scary thing to open up your schedule and to allow individuals to come in and book your precious time, fill your hygiene appointments, only to potentially not show up as they haven't connected with the practice. This is a frustration for many practices. And so an alternative approach, by allowing patients from your website to select general days and times, don't ask them for all of their personal information, the insurance, all of these things that they don't want to give away before they know that you have an opening, but instead ask for a name, phone number, general days and times with any other notes that you'd like to have from them, and let them submit that through to your practice and reach out to them and let them know if you have that availability, or open up a spot for them. So in terms of funneling all of these communications, if a patient only wants to reach you through Facebook or text message or a web chat or an online appointment request, a messenger that actually centralizes all of this communication is incredibly important, because as patients want to reach us in additional channels, it's very difficult to manage all of those in a one-off fashion. So centralizing that into a centralized inbox is streamlined for both the practice, and it will increase the response times, speeden the response times from the patient to the practice, from the practice to the patient, and make things very streamlined. So in terms of all of these communications being found online, connecting conveniently, there's also a third step that's incredibly important in the patient experience. That's gathering feedback. I know that it's very difficult to ask for feedback and to think that someone may share negative feedback, but it's really important, because if a patient leaves your practice and they were unsatisfied with the experience that they had, the stats show that most of them are not going to speak up. They'll merely come in, receive a simple cleaning, deny the casework that you suggested, and walk out the back door. But in terms of gathering feedback, if you gather feedback in a personalized, convenient way for the patient to leave that for you, the stats show that they're willing to share. 67%, the stat here, is that patients are actually leaving because of feelings of indifference, a poor patient experience. They won't talk about it or tell you about it. They may not be the 1 or 2 or 3 patients that goes and shares a negative review online, but they'll merely leave the practice. And so in terms of creating champions or ensuring that patients stick around for life, must ask for feedback. Ask it in a convenient way. Ask it with a personalized message. Let them know you care, that you care about their feedback, and that you're going to implement that feedback and make the necessary changes in the practice. Because if you serve patients and you ask for their feedback and respond to that, you'll create practice champions. Patients are willing to share their feedback with you. They're willing to go and share a review with you, for you online, to help you grow your business. But if you're not asking, and if you're requiring several steps, or you're making it clunky or inconvenient for that patient, they're unlikely to do so. So in terms of just a recap here, we talk about this as the reputation wheel, how to grow your practice through the patient experience. Get found through online reviews. Make sure that if you're seeing 30 hygiene appointments on a daily basis, or even 10, 15, 20 appointments on a daily basis, that you have fresh and recent reviews going to your Google My Business page. If you don't have reviews that are coming in at least once a week, or in most cases with the correct system in place, once every day or once every couple days is not out of the question. But if your practice looks stale online, then you're passing up on a chance to gain new patients through a very simple online search. Then plugging in those tools like web chat, or allowing them to reach you through Facebook, or schedule online, or text message your practice where you'll respond quickly, you can connect conveniently and convert those patients into lifelong patients. Then in terms of soliciting feedback, ask for your patients' feedback. Ask them to share their feedback with you online and on the sites that matter, but also go internally. 1 to 10, how do you feel about our overall patient experience? How likely are you to recommend us to a family or friend? How did you feel about our new operatory, our new associate, our new hygienist? What changes or services would you like to see in the practice? Using an automated tool that allows them to click 1 through 10 and share any additional feedback will really give you some data that can drive some some critical changes in your practices. So as a recap here, getting found, connecting conveniently and converting, having a wonderful patient experience, soliciting feedback and creating practice champions, not patients that merely come in the front door and leave out the back, but champions of your practice that will rave about you online, that will bring in friends and family, that will help you to grow and help to bring in additional patients. So as we wrap up here, just wanted to give a quick look at our product SWELL. Now, we've talked about patient communication, patient experience, and how incredibly important it is to make this contemporary, to make it easy for your patients. But SWELL exists to make it easy for practices as well. We now serve nearly 4,000 dental practices, and sit side by side with all of the other systems in the practice. Swell does not rip and replace any existing system, but actually fills in holes and provides enhancements to the tools that already exist in your practices. This is a very low cost, high return on investment tool that, like I said, thousands of practices have now adopted with the other tools that they have in the practice to, number one, ensure that they're receiving daily, fresh, recent reviews to their Google My Business page, and then plugging in tools like web chat, integrating Facebook Messenger, allowing live two-way text messages and online appointment requesting, so that if patients are searching for you online, they can now connect instantly, conveniently. You can convert and engage with them very quickly and easily. So as we look at this overall platform, there are many tools that we have here. I just wanted to share, we've got Jackson here in the back. Please spend 10-15 minutes with Jackson or myself. Here's our contact information for our friends who are viewing this online. But really, with 10 or 15 minutes of your time, we can walk you through how this fits in the practice, how it sits side by side with all of the existing tools that you have, and how it will drive your patient acquisition and help to improve your patient experience in your practices. Thank you so much, and it's been wonderful to be with you.